Hello, everybody. Good morning and welcome. And we're going to do part 2 right now of our teaching here about understanding healthy eating, because there's so many people that contact me on a regular basis that seem to struggle with this idea. And the real issue is they're not only struggling with the idea, is they think what they're doing is okay. So that's the real problem here. It's not that they're not doing okay only, but they think they're doing okay. So they think, well, I eat healthy, and people contact me all the time for a consultation or something. And I ask them about their diet, about what they're eating, and because I want to know how I can help them. So when I do a consultation with people, I want to know your background. I want to know what medications you're on, what supplements you're taking. And when I often ask people, what food are you eating? What diet are you eating? People often, they don't really know. And that's a scary thing, that people don't know what they ate that day or that meal or the meal before. I say, okay, give me an example of what you ate yesterday. Because when I ask people what they eat, they get quite sporadic in their answer. They're like, well, I sometimes eat this, sometimes eat that. I say, okay, well, give me an example. What did you eat yesterday? And they tell me what you eat, and you think that's healthy. And they're like, well, I could do better, but it's not that bad. And when you look at the factors of health that I'm going to discuss here, it's pretty dangerous. These things that people make themselves think they're healthy when they're not. I want to use this as an example of my dad. My dad doesn't eat any candy. He doesn't eat much processed food at all. He's very simple. But on the other hand, he doesn't eat any organic vegetables at all. He still eats a little animal meat. He drinks coffee every day. And, let me put it this way. Just because you're not eating as bad as someone else does not mean you're eating healthy. That's a very important thing to comprehend. Just because you're not eating as bad as someone else does not mean you're eating healthy. And beyond health, there's other things that are going to determine what's truly healthy and what's not healthy in our life in general. And there are some aspects. And as I said in the last video, your health, if what's working for you, it shouldn't be just determined by how you feel, because there's a big lie to think, well, how we feel determines what's going on in our body. No, because stimulation, people can feel wonderful. But there's also some things that are going to affect our health and so on. And I'm reading around this wonderful book, The Life Transformation Diet, and it talks about an ancient healing teacher, Maimonides, and it's just some great principles that I want to remind people about, that I completely, I'm in agreement with, and I want people to understand this. So according to ancient medieval medicine, the health of the body is dependent not only on internal factors such as the body's strength and inner composition, but on 6 external factors as well. These 6 factors are well known with physicians and people and so on. The sad thing is, even though they're common factors, people don't often consider this when they think about health. We have the quality of surrounding air, the type of food and drink, our emotions, exercise and rest, sleep and waken, and our bowel movements, how often we're going. And a lot of these things are things that I was discussing in the last video when we spoke about how do we know if what we're doing is working for us. You can't just go by how you feel. You have to look at your bowel movements, how often you're going to the bathroom. How's your sleep? Are you getting good sleep? And things like this. So it's extremely important to understand these things. So we need, when you're looking for a health or diet that's working best for you, you need to eliminate what's causing the problem with your disease if you want to get better. As I say often, health doesn't begin with what we add to our diet. It begins with what we eliminate. Eliminate the things that are causing the problem, and the problem will begin to come away. So we must get this and figure this out. So this ancient health writer had kind of gotten this down to 4, this list of 6 to 4. And these are things that most people aren't doing that we need to focus on, and things that I've been teaching for years. So we need to understand this, but I want to read this and then we're going to get to those four. It says, and I pray those of you that don't understand health are getting it. It says, the physician has taught the following fundamental principles for health. A person who exercises and exerts himself greatly does not satiate himself and have loose bowels, will not become ill, and his strength will increase even if bad foods are eaten. So basically, it says if somebody's not eating the best food, but exercising himself and going to the bathroom on a regular basis, he's going to be much better off, as it says here. But a person who does not exercise and is constipated will suffer all his life, even if he's eating the correct foods. So do we understand that? Basically, if you're not eating the right foods, but you're going to the bathroom on a regular basis and exercise on a regular basis, you're going to be much better off than if you're eating a good diet and you're constipated and it's right here and you're not exercising. So we have to understand this, and this is what I talk about in the Daylight Diet. It's what I talk about in the Raw Life book and the Formula for Health. Overeating is like poison to the body. It is the main cause of all illness. Most illnesses are caused by unhealthy foods or by gorging oneself on overeating, even healthy foods. Overeating is just a tremendous problem today, and people don't get it. They don't realize it. Now there's a emotional, mental aspect to why people eat more than they need. And it's the pleasure trap, because people are not eating for nutrition, they're eating for pleasure. And when people are lacking pleasure in their life, they try to get it from somewhere else, and usually it's food. And this is why so many people are obese today. So there's many external factors of why people are overeating. But from a diet standpoint, if you're putting more food in the body than can come out, your body has to deal with all that waste. And remember what I was saying in the last teaching was what we want is to give our body the least amount of the most amount of nutrients with the least amount of waste left over. But what people are doing today is they're eating the foods that have the least amount of nutrition and make it really difficult to get out of the body, leading to constipation and so on. So the quality of food is important, but more important than the quality of food is the amount of food. And this is kind of a double-edged sword, because if you're eating good quality food, you're going to be full much quicker and you're not going to crave more food. But if you're eating low quality food that don't have the nutrition your body needs, even though you're eating, your body's not getting the nutrients, so you're always going to crave more food. This goes beyond the pleasure trap of the emotional and physical side of craving food to meet that pleasure need. But this is the physical aspect of it, where your body needs nutrients. And no matter what you're eating, if you're not giving it nutrients by eating good calories, it's going to crave more food. So of the original 6, we have to narrow this down to even 4 to help make it easier for people to understand. And this health writer wrote these, and essential and so true. But I want you to remember, overeating is detrimental to your health. So the next one is these 4. So the original list of the 6, not taking away sleeping and not taking away the idea of constipation, but those are more results of these other factors, not a cause of them. So when taking those off the list, we have the 4 things left: the food quantity, exercise, the food quality, and the waste management, or how much you're going to the bathroom. And these are things that, again, but we look at and we define this list even more when it comes to healthy eating. And we look at the food quality and we look at the waste management. Well, I just discussed the food quality is going to determine the quantity from a physical standpoint. That emotional standpoint in the mind and the emotions is a whole nother pleasure trap. But when you're eating the low quality foods, you're going to end up overeating, and then your quality, the quantity is going to be too much. But if you're getting the good quality, the quantity be less. The bottom line is the quantity. Too much food is no good no matter what you're eating. And if you're eating good food, it's very difficult to overeat. It's not impossible because there's still that pleasure issue. So even though you're full, you're meeting your cell's needs and you're giving the nutrients your body wants, now you got to deal with that emotional issue, and you could still overeat on good food. And that's what we're saying here. It's still bad to overeat on good food. So when many people tell me, oh, they eat a good diet or not as bad as somebody else, they're never, ever considering how much they're eating of it. And if you're not okay in the emotional, mental area, and you're trying to get caught up in that pleasure trap, even if you're eating good food, you're going to have issues with that. So to deal with the quality of or the quantity of the food from a physical standpoint, we need to eat the highest quality food as we can possibly get, and that's raw, ripe, fresh, organic. And then from a emotional standpoint, so we don't overeat, we have to make sure we're getting the pleasure or the love in life from healthy things, and not from overeating or overindulging or other unhealthy habits that we become addicted to. In other words, we got to create good habits that are going to help us maintain our health and not seek pleasure from somewhere else. And people think this is an external thing where it involves somebody else. Somebody else has to give us love, or we're not going to feel that pleasure or no. This is all about us in terms of the pleasure we see or get out of things in life. You know, there's a saying, one man's trash, another man's treasure. Well, I say one person's pleasure is not pleasurable to somebody else. We determine what's going to be pleasurable in our lives and not. So when we fill ourselves up with the pleasure of life, we don't need to run to food or those so-called comfort foods when we're comfortable in life. So we need, the bottom line is overeating and lack of exercise are two things that are the results of all these other things. Overeating and lack of exercise will lead to poor sleep, poor bowel movements, will lead to all disease and everything else. Overeating and exercise or lack of exercise. So I want you to remember this as you think, and when you think what people are doing in general today that's so detrimental to their health, these are two of the most common things people do or aren't doing. People overeat and they don't exercise, which goes hand in hand because when you're overeating, you're making the body work harder than it has to make, and it requires more work. And when there's more work, you require more sleep. And sleep is where the healing takes place. And sleep is where the body's working. But if you're taking in more than the body can get out, and then you're cutting your sleep short, well, now that's adding to the issue even more because you're cutting your healing and cleansing time short, because that's when it takes place and the blood rejuvenates and cleanses during your sleep. Basically, the more you eat, the more sleep you require. But we live in a world today where people are eating more and sleeping less. If we ate less, we wouldn't require as much sleep, and then we'll be getting enough sleep. But when we eat more and we make it harder for our bodies to get the nutrients from the food because they're not in there or because they're too difficult to get out, we create more work and more energy use and through our digestion. And now we create a problem because now our bodies need more rest and we're not giving it that rest. We're trying to, it's gotten so bad that people need a drug to stay awake. Caffeine or some other type of drug to just stay awake or make it through the day. Adrenal fatigue or it's become so common today. So we must look at the quality of the food we're eating and the quantity of the food we're eating. And then we have to look at our exercise. The more you exercise, the more efficient your body is going to work. We are not perfect and we're going to make mistakes. But the more we keep our body fit, the more we can get away with. It's not an excuse to do things we shouldn't be doing. But if you do overeat, if you do eat the wrong foods, if your body is fit and healthy, you're going to deal with that much better than if you're not keeping your body in a healthy state. Fitness and exercise are extremely important in helping these things that we're talking about. So to sum up, in discussing this, a primary principle of the food quantity and exercise are essential. The secondary principles of food quality and going to the bathroom is the passive principle of what's going to be the result of this. You know, so it seems that if we keep the primary principles of food quantity and exercise, we create a compound which is a greater than the sum of its parts. In other words, a combination of both these primary principles creates a type of magic formula. Now, when we think about this, we all hear about people that don't eat the best foods, some people that might even eat McDonald's and other things, and they might seem healthier than someone who's trying to eat healthy. Because it's not, it just doesn't always come down to this. Somebody that's eating an organic diet or a healthy diet or health foods, but overeating and never exercising, versus somebody that's eating not the best food, but that's exercising and not overeating. That person is going to be much better off than the person that's eating healthy foods, but not following all these other aspects of health. And that's the point I want you to understand, because overeating is like poison to the body. And we need to understand these basic original concepts of the food quantity and exercising. And when it comes to exercise, there's different types of exercise we can do out there. There's strength building exercises to build up our muscles. And then there's exercise of cardiovascular exercise. Heart disease is such a big issue today. So we could make sure we're doing cardiovascular exercise and getting enough pumping of our heart and our blood. So we're going to talk about other concepts, but we got to overcome the issues with the mind and all this stuff we hear on about people talking about different types of ways to eat and what works and what worked, and the paradox of choice. When we have too much choice, we tend to do what's popular and not what's right. But what's popular is not always right. And we live in this world today where people are so addicted to the wrong foods, and they're used to eating certain foods from when they were growing up as children, and it's not working. It's not working. We have more money, science, and knowledge of the topic of disease than ever before in today's world. And at the same time, we have more people suffering from disease than ever before in today's world. So we want to put things back in the right perspective and start eating healthier and living healthier. And I want to remind you right now, for those of you that think that's what you're doing, the quantity of food and exercise, or shall I say overeating and lack of exercise, are two tremendous issues we need to work on. Now, you know, when we were discussing monitoring things and using technology today for our health to see other things going on, you know, a blood test is wonderful to monitor things and see how things are taking place. Somebody's asking what's the proper food quantity is, and just remember this: the higher the quality of food, the less you need, because the nutrients are in there. A low quality food, you're eating and making the body work, but you're not giving it anything that it needs. So you don't need to eat much food. And just like you've put yourself in a habit of eating 9 or 10 times a day of low quality food, we get something called a hunger habit, meaning even though we're not truly hungry, because most people haven't felt hungry, we eat anyway because we're used to eating at a certain time, and usually it's nighttime, which is the worst time to eat our food. But we don't need to eat much. Your stomach is the size of your fist, and you don't want to overwork the organs of the body, and that's what people are doing. So you don't need to eat much at all, and you could train yourself or get back into or create a good habit of eating much less. And then there's other benefits of that, such as more energy, which you'll need less sleep. And also you'll spend less money on food, and all around, it's just better to do it this way. The people that have lived the longest in the world have ate less, not more. The people that ate more suffer from the disease that we suffer from today. So if you run into issues along the way, Supplements are a great short-term solution to a long-term issue. So you got to find out what's the issue, but supplement in the meantime makes a difference. And you can monitor what you're doing in today's technology with your blood work and everything else. So it's important to understand these concepts. So no matter what you think you're doing, you want to make sure that you're getting some exercise, some form of exercise every day, and you're also not overeating. Okay, and we're going to talk about these things throughout these teachings here of how to avoid those things or how to overcome those things, and talk about diet and talk about food and stuff. And I've been teaching this for a really long time in my videos, so you can look at my other videos on the channel here. But these things are essential and these things are important. And then there are, with the supplements, there's whole foods in a supplement form, right? So sometimes we come along them. I mean, the best thing is to get the whole foods, like eating greens. I have a garden, I eat greens. Some people don't have a garden, so take a green powder. Green powders have a tremendous amount of wonderful vitamins and nutrients in them. Make sure they're raw. Make sure it's not, cooked in the processing of it. But green powders are okay if that's the best you can do. Most people can grow sprouts and things like that. They just choose not to. But you do have an opportunity to do so. And then there are supplements like the Valasta that I talk about. The Valasta Astaxanthin. I'll put a link below the video to this. And it has so much nutrients in this small amount of food. It's 16 times stronger than lipotein, and has 800 times stronger than coenzyme Q10, 3,000 times stronger than reversitile, and 5,000 times stronger than vitamin C. So this is why I'm a big advocate when we look about the quantity of food. I'm a big advocate of juicing and also things like this, because it helps get all these nutrients in a concentrated form so you don't have to overeat. I know when I juice, I don't eat as much because I'm getting all those nutrients right in a cup, and I get them in my body without my body have to doing that much work, because the fiber's not there, and it gets right into my bloodstream, those nutrients. So this is why juicing is important and helpful in accomplishing these goals. And exercise, if you're not getting enough sleep, you're not going to be motivated to exercise. If you're getting enough rest and sleep, you will be motivated to exercise. And it all works together, because as I was saying, if you're eating too much, you're going to sleep too little and not get enough. But if you're eating less, you're getting enough sleep, then with all that extra energy you have, you're going to want to go and exercise. So I pray this is making sense to you all. And please put your questions below the videos. And as you see, I've been answering them below the videos. I'll answer your questions, but this is part 2, and we're going to do a part 3 coming up here soon. So have a blessed week. Remember, everybody, to seek out the best quality food you can get. Don't settle for standard or I'm not as bad as other people. No, do the best you can do, and make sure, watch the quantity of foods. Don't eat late at night, and watch the quantity of foods. And then also make sure you're exercising. All right. Have a great day, everybody. Remember, post your questions below the video. Thank you so much for watching, and have a great day.